Elite Expert Insider, the podcast that educates, inspires, and motivates you to take your business and life to the next level. We would like to thank Audible for supporting Elite Expert Insider. Please go to the link bit.ly/Elite Audible. That's bit.ly/Elite Audible and get a free 30-day trial to show your support. Thank you, Audible. Now to Elite Expert Insider for conversations with industry leaders. Hey, Melanie Johnson here along with my friend Jen Foster and partner at Elite Online Publishing. We have another great podcast for you today. We want to remind you to subscribe to our podcast. Just hit that subscribe button and we would love to hear from you. And, if you're thinking about writing your life story, so many people, the Wall Street Journal says you should write your life story even if nobody reads it. So here's a book to help you get started to write your life story. We have it on Amazon. It's one of our books. We have a whole series of books. So this one is a life story. We have one on your accomplishment, but it's a great one to get. And then if you're looking to leave a legacy, here's a book on how to tell your story and leave a legacy that I wrote that goes along with my TED Talk. So we have a really good podcast for you today. We have a man who had a near-death experience on top of everything else. He's he's my best lunch partner. We started our relationship creating his book and getting his book published, and we would go to lunch and I would just come away just floating on a cloud, and I felt like I learned so much. His book is called Spirituality, My Long Journey Home. I have a copy of it right here. And I just love his book. I'm going to get into it and let him tell you about it. I don't want to give away all the secrets, but it's these great letters to his grandson. But he's going to talk about it. Mike Magana, thanks for joining us today.
I'm glad I'm here.
Tell us a little bit about your background and your history and how the journey to write this book came about.
Well, you mentioned some near-death experiences. When I was taking inventory of my long life, when I was writing the book, I came up with three distinct near-death experiences. One when I was 5, one when I was about 22, and in 2011, when I was quite a bit older. All those experiences contributed to my perspective in life. The fact that no one can survive life if anybody has given it any thought. Sooner or later you will succumb to passing on. My premise and my reason for writing the book had to do with my oldest grandson. His name is Alec, whom I refer to as Angelo in the book. And he is and continues to be an atheist. And I could not sit idle and just do nothing to provide a reason for him to have doubt that his religion of not believing that God exists is true. Of course, I was raised to believe in God, so there was never any doubt in my mind. In the book, I take on the creation of the universe, and I specifically outline the creation of light, life, time, and DNA, which I cannot imagine anybody having a difficult time agreeing that a supreme being is in charge. Creation is God and God is creation. So the premise of my book is making a compelling case that even if you don't believe in God, you cannot deny the existence of a supreme being. So that was the premise of my book.
I love that. I think it's so inspirational. And tell us a little bit, you have this scientific background, right, Jen? That he's got like this engineering background. Tell us a little bit how that interwove through your book.
Well, my schooling is the Sci-Fi Channel. I'm an avid fan of anything that has to do with our universe. I found out that our solar system and our galaxy the Milky Way galaxy is one of 2 to 4 billion star systems in one galaxy. And of course, we have many, many galaxies, billions of galaxies in the universe. And in the book, I devote the first chapter to let me see, what was it? I forget right now, it escapes me. But 2 probes were launched in 1977, specifically for the purpose of doing flybys to every single rocky planet in our solar system and the gas giants. And do a flyby and take photos, information, sound, recordings of sound of all these magnificent solar systems. And that project since 1977 has been ongoing, and it's ongoing now. And they have fired some rockets this year that is going to prolong the life of these. We're down to 1. 2 of them were launched. We're down to 1. And when the probe was beyond Pluto, it would take, at the speed of light, 16 hours for the signals to go to the probe. Voyager, I just remember, the Voyager project. Anyway, it would take over 16 hours for the signals to reach the probes from Earth, and just as many hours for the images, the information, the data that was being collected by these probes to reach Earth. When you calculate all that, our solar system, that's minute compared to our galaxy, is over 10 billion miles across. And by saying over 10 billion should give you an indication of how vast the distance covered by these 2 probes. And my premise is that if our tiny, tiny, tiny solar system within our galaxy is so vast, how much bigger is the galaxy? And I just happen to have the answer, or at least a probing question. When you take the speed of light at 186,000 miles per second, and you would take 26,000 light years to go from our solar system to the center of our galaxy. If that doesn't give you some kind of an idea of the vastness of the creation of our universe, I'm challenging you to ponder it. And again, our galaxy, the Milky Way, is just one of billions of galaxies. Our universe continues to expand. It continues to evolve. It harvests life, for sure. Not anything that we might imagine or recognize, but there is life in the universe. There's water in planets, and those are indications that there is life beyond our solar system.
Yeah, I've seen some of that video and pictures, and it's amazing what a tiny little speck the Earth is. Like if you were to take a bunch of sand and put it in a box and kind of spread it out, we're really just that little speck over there. And it's like how we are like an ant, really, maybe even smaller than an ant in the universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other probing question is DNA. We're expanding. There are over 7 billion people in our Earth. We continue to, populate the Earth, but I'm not sure that I never have. I'm not sure that it's a choice for many people to ponder the miracle of DNA. How a small, insignificant event can generate so many of us, and there are no 2 people alike. As far as I know, there are no 2 people alike. The other day, I saw a coverage on the Science Channel of a sequoia tree in its magnificent size, and the seed that generates that giant of a tree it fits in your hand. And the DNA behind the sequoia tree is like all the DNA throughout the universe. It has a purpose in it. It's a program. It's a living entity in the universe, and it produces a sequoia tree or a star or a planet, and in fact, the universe. And that is continuing with my premise. God is creation and creation is God.
It's so great. You know, I'm always thinking about that kind of stuff too. And I have a son who looks similar to my grandpa, or his grandpa, so he looks similar to my dad. And you know, they're nothing alike, but they have some of the same features. And just that miracle of, you know, seeing your ancestry in your family with the DNA, I think I think it's just marvelous. And I know a few twins as well who look, you know, exactly the same, identical twins, but they're nothing alike, right? They're not the same.
Absolutely. Some of the fact that people can ponder is that in a year's time, 365 days, every cell in the human body is replaced.
Wow.
Every single one of them. And the reality, the miracle of what I'm talking about is that we look, each of us, very much like we did a year ago. So there's a program embedded in the DNA that controls our features, hair color, skin color, texture, eye color, height. All of that is controlled through DNA. And I don't know of anybody who would take credit for the creation of DNA.
Yeah. You know, and you talk about purpose in your book too, and your life's purpose. And sometimes it's even way beyond yourself. I was watching the movie Gila last week, and I don't know if you know what it's about, but it was a woman who was dying of cancer, and they had captured her cells. And it was the first time they had cells that stayed alive, cancerous cells that stayed alive, that they could replicate and duplicate to test. And the Gila cells, so it was by Helen Lackey, I believe was her name, they've been to the moon, they've been in outer space, they've been all over the world where people have shared and tested them. And so her life purpose became greater than just even her physical existence on earth. It lasted longer than that. You know, she had some children, but then they used her blood to save many, many lives, and it cured polio because of that. So you just never know what your purpose may be through your DNA, through the, you know, why you're here. Talk a little bit about that and what you think, you know, how God talks to us about our purpose.
We all have kind of a mission. That mission being personal identity. We don't spend, in my opinion, of course, we don't spend enough time defining who we truly are. We leave the power of our personal identity to the people around us. And I always make the comment, any of us, we are not who people say we are. It is our personal mission, in my opinion, that we discover who that individual is. Personal identity is just as personal as your toothbrush. And it can only be defined, it can only be discovered and honed by the individual. And I think it's not only a mission, it's a responsibility for each of us to determine who that person is.
And how do you do that? I mean, what are some of the things that you've discovered that you've figured out who you are?
Well, ironically, there's a pastor in Houston. His name is, let me see. Anyway, it'll come to me. I used to listen to this morning thought of the day put out by Unity Church. Howard Caesar is the pastor of Unity Church in Houston. And on this particular day, the subject was intimacy. It was intimacy. I'm sorry, let me go back. The thought of the day was intimacy. And he said that most everybody would assume that intimacy requires more than one person. And in this thought of the day, he goes on to say, intimacy is broken down into intimacy. And it's a very, very personal journey that he's recommending that each of us take. And that you should take this journey, and it should take you into the deepest, most personal depths of your identity. And when you reach that level, not only will you discover your true identity, you will discover God.
Sometimes it's scary because you think you get on this path of doing your thing every day, moving along, doing what you're supposed to do, taking care of your kids, making a living, and to be intimate with yourself. Like it's scary to be intimate with someone else, but like I say, to actually be intimate with yourself, like, well, I don't know, you have to be vulnerable to do that. And you might not like what you see, or you're not sure what you're going to see, right? And when you have to take that hard look of, who am I? There may be some words that come to mind that you may not like, or might be afraid to see, or and then you got to say, do you really love what you see, or do you like what you see?
Well, funny you should mention that, Melanie. I think we touched on this a little bit last time you and I had lunch.
Yep.
There's only one thing that we all must do, no matter what, the good, the bad, or the ugly. It doesn't matter. Your life has to be accepted. You have to accept your life. And you challenged me today, Melanie, that I should accept me. And the only way that you can accept other people, or in other more extreme cases, love anyone else, is that you should accept and love yourself. Everything in this world begins with yourself. And if you can accept self, and you can respect self and love self, then you can overextend yourself to do the same for other people in your life. People who are worthy of your love and acceptance. But the key word is acceptance, my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love all those thoughts. I think people should go out and read your book. There's so many insights in there on life and spirituality and just that self-acceptance. I think once you have that, then you can go forward with anything. You can do anything.
I believe that. I believe that strongly.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool.
One of the things that's covered in the book, and that's finding the difference between living and existing. And of course, I go into some level of detail. I'm limited. I have limits, but my own life has lent me the experience that living is finite. Existing is eternal. And none of us give it any thought. I didn't for a long, long time. But having those near-death experiences forced me to think about it, is that I will pass from this finite life. And in the book, I cover that we should begin the journey of spiritual journey, knowing that when you take your last breath, living is over. Existing begins.
It's so poignant. I'm at the age where my parents are both 86, and a lot of my aunts and uncles have passed away or recently passed away. And you start thinking about that next dimension, that next level. I mean, I'm a Christian. I believe I'm going to heaven, but it's like, you say you're preparing your life. A lot of times you don't think about preparing your life for what's coming afterwards, because that's forever. This is just such a short time that we have here. And whenever I talk to you, you always remind me of that. It's like, like you're getting caught up in all of this stuff, but, just think about like why you're here, and you're only here for a little bit, make the most of it. And it's like bringing it back to center again, to remember that. I think we forget.
Exactly. And in the book, I think it's towards the end, I talk about divesting. Mm-hmm. Everybody understands investment when it comes to, investing in stocks and bonds and, promoting your self-sufficiency. There is such thing as divesting. And I talk about it because nothing we have in this world can we take into the next. And divesting is such you free yourself up to the point where you can ponder possibilities beyond the now And you can only do that when you divest from titles and possessions and materials and wealth, and the idea that you're going to live forever. You have to divest from that idea.
Mm-hmm. And I like that, divesting from things, and having the hurricane here in Houston. So many people got divested without their will of everything. I mean, I was so fortunate. You were fortunate that nothing happened, but I have many friends that I've talked to that are, we have nothing. It's when the weather's changed, when it's all of a sudden it's cold, I don't have a sweater, I don't have a coat, everything they had, not even really a lot of their pictures and memories are gone. So you realize what's important. And one of my friends says, as I'm rebuilding, I'm going to embrace the minimalist. I realize that I don't need very much anymore. Yeah.
Yep. Life has a way of forcing you to ponder the unponderable. I don't know if that's a word, but the unthinkable.
Yeah. And I just love your book. My son has shared it with a classmate at school. He was even reading it to him, parts of it, who is an atheist. So, I think that the word is just spreading around, and it's going to spread about your wonderful book. I think you have it there. I'm holding it up again.
Can you see it?
Yep, hold up a little higher. There we go. And it really does. I mean, I think it just brings you the stories that you have, and it just brings you closer to God. If you already know God, then it brings you closer. I told Mike, whenever I read your book, it would make me cry, right? When I would start to read your book, it would get me emotionally. So I just think it's a fabulous book. And I'm glad your grandson encouraged you or motivated you. He didn't encourage you. He motivated you to leave this as part of your legacy. How do you think he's going to feel about this book? We're not even sure if he's read it yet. Has he?
Let's see. For Thanksgiving, he was visiting here for Thanksgiving, and he did admit that he's halfway through the book.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm encouraged. I want to have lunch with him when he has read the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to escape your magical lunches. If you have the book, he's read the book and the lunch, I think he'll be done.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So, Mike, where can people find you?
Well, of course, they can go to Amazon. Facebook is another avenue. The other one, of course, is MikeMagana.com. And so there are a variety of avenues to take. I hope that everybody challenges themselves to find out what the book's about.
And find out what they're about. I think the process is finding God and finding what they're about as well. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there's a whole nother talk. And I want to say, Mike, how many years have you been married?
52 this past August.
So
my oldest son, Angelo's oldest father, he's my oldest son. He's 52.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
So does that give you an idea how many full moons I've lived through?
And I love it. You have just such a beautiful marriage, and it speaks volumes for you and your life, and just a great role model. So again, here is the book. I'm going to hold it up one more time. Spirituality, My Long Journey Home. Highly, highly recommend it. It's a quick read, but it will bring out a lot of emotion. If it did what it did to me, it's going to touch your heart. So I hope you enjoy the book. You can find it on Amazon. Spirituality, My Long Journey Home. Discovering your personal God. And that's what Mike always says it's about, is discovering your personal God. And Mike Magana is Magana. So remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it, and leave us some comments. You can find us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. If you would like us to leave your legacy and write your book and publish it for us, we would be honored to do so. You can find us on the website and contact Jen and I. We're happy to help you. So see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to create the most powerful advertising tool for your business, contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com, where we will help you create, publish, and make your book a #1 bestseller, and show you how to get new leads and more revenue for your business. If you'd like to check us out on our Facebook page, we have a free book for you as our gift. Just go and click free book. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment for our podcast. We would love to hear from you.